Get ready for the next level of ascension. Lightworkers, it's time to prepare for shifting timelines. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and in this video, I want to talk to all of you experiencing a spiritual awakening, and especially Lightworkers and Starseeds. We need to get ready for the next level of ascension and prepare ourselves to experience shifting timelines. But first, I want to thank you guys so much for bringing my channel to well over 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys so very much. And if you're new to my channel, welcome, and make sure to subscribe so that you can join our growing, powerful community of light warriors and spiritual seekers. Let's start by talking about the sudden and dramatic shift that occurred on our planet with the advent of this virus. This shift was so sudden, so all-encompassing, and so profound that I think it indicates an actual shift in our planetary timeline. Now, let me share with you something that I experienced when this whole saga first began. When people were first being ordered to stay inside, I experienced something very odd while I was meditating, and meditating is something I do every morning. For about 3 days, I felt this amazing connection to the planet's energy, but not in the usual way. It was like the entire surface of the planet was glowing with this blue light, but the light was almost fluid-like, and it was pulsing. It was just pulsing from the surface of the planet, this very radiant, it was almost like different shades of blue, like from electric blue to a more pale blue and everything in between. But it was almost like the planet's energy was pulsing with this blue light from the surface. And it felt like the surface of the planet was almost fluid-like in nature. It was really, really odd. Now, this was really different from how I would normally experience a planet's energy in its more solid state, as the planet is more dense and solid. So here's what I thought at the time that I was having this experience. I thought, oh, this must be because human beings are not very active, so it's much easier to feel the planet's energy. This is really amazing. However, this experience only lasted for about 3 days, and then it stopped, even though there were more and more people who were staying inside and less human activity. So after about 3 days, my experience of the planet's energy went back to the usual feeling where the planet feels solid. And I know it's a watery planet, but I'm just talking about the planet in its normal state as opposed to this pulsing blue light. That just completely went away, and everything went back to feeling the way it normally does. So clearly, this experience had nothing to do with the fact that humans were inside their homes. Now, it wasn't until events started changing in such dramatic and shocking ways that I began to suspect that what I had experienced was an actual shift in Earth's timeline. I mean, it's like we are literally living on a different planet than the one we were on 3 or 4 months ago. Now, I have to tell you that our situation on this planet is far more complicated at a cosmic level than we have been led to believe. We see everything here in very simplistic terms because we have been completely isolated from the rest of the universe. We have been told there's nothing else and no other life anywhere else in the cosmos other than the life that we are told to live on a day-to-day basis. We've been told this on a scientific level and on a religious level, neither of which really matches up with any common sense whatsoever. Now, if we believe all this stuff we've been told, here is what we must also accept. We have to accept that a supreme creator manifested this gargantuan universe with no life in it of any kind. And then this creator thought it might be fun to create this massive, humongous void with only one tiny speck of a planet that had any life on it whatsoever. In fact, this tiny speck of a planet, our Earth, is virtually invisible even in our small area of the galaxy. And then this creator must have thought it would be awesome to have a bunch of humans on this tiny planet whose sole purpose in life was to go to school so they could get a good job and try to stay alive for as long as possible. And then this creator would make sure that these humans had no instructions whatsoever about how not to screw this up completely. And this creator would also make sure to remain invisible so that everyone would have to fend for themselves and mostly guess about what was really going on. Now, does this sound like fiction to you guys? It certainly does to me. So we are at a profound disadvantage because we have been given such a narrow version of reality that we have been expected to believe and live by. And that tiny version of reality just cannot account for all the things that we are experiencing today. The truth is that for the most part, we humans have absolutely no idea what is really going on here. So we have this tiny version of reality that you can picture like a box. Inside this box, there is very little information. All we've known are our usual comings and goings as we embarked on our former way of life when we went to school, got jobs, had holidays, and entertained ourselves on the weekends. And we were told that this was all very solid and secure. All that was required is that we do what we're told and think the way we are told to think. But literally overnight, that has completely changed. And we were never prepared for what is happening right now. So now we are being told to stay inside our homes, not have any physical contact with other human beings, and only go outside to forage for food in the grocery store. And if we go outside, we have to cover our faces with a mask. That's what's coming next, my friends. It doesn't matter that there's a good explanation for all of this, any more than it matters that we have a good explanation for everything else we've been told. Now, this whole experience is putting us into a collective state of shock, and it's going to be followed by an unfolding experience of collective trauma. Now, at some point, this virus is going to be gone, and we will be left facing the devastation of what has actually happened to us that goes well beyond getting sick from a virus. You see, a massive timeline shift is no small matter. So I implore you not to underestimate the magnitude of the collective trauma that we will all be experiencing. You see, we were told all our lives that the reality that we shared was really secure. Maybe it wasn't great, but at least it was secure. Then overnight, that reality completely disappeared. Everything we relied upon was literally taken away. Our jobs, our income, our freedom of movement, our ability to be together, and so much more has all been taken away. We are under the complete control of a small group of people who are making all the decisions for us now. We do not have the freedom to decide for ourselves how we will protect ourselves from this virus. Things have shifted from initially asking for our cooperation to punishing us if we don't comply. Now, I am not here to dispute any of this. I simply want to shine the light on the facts of what we are actually dealing with. So let's set all of that stuff aside for a moment. What does this mean to those of us who are Lightworkers and Starseeds? What does this mean if you are undergoing a spiritual awakening? Do you remember when I told you guys to get ready for the massive acceleration of Ascension energy in 2020? Now you can probably see why I said that. See, I believe we are in a war for our planet, and I do not think it is an earthly war. I think that the humans are proxies for something else. And I also believe that not everyone we see here on Earth is entirely human. Something is struggling to either maintain or take control of our planetary timeline. And something is trying to prevent our ascension. A timeline refers to a trajectory of events from any given point on the space-time continuum. And timelines are directly related to the trajectory of ascension. Now, here's what you need to consider. We have unfortunately been led to believe that ascension is something that just happens. And this has made us spiritually lazy. And now we are behind the curve, so we need to do some serious awakening. And we need to do it quickly, because how Ascension plays out has everything to do with the human response to it. So how do we prepare ourselves in such a way that we can act as conscious participants in our own ascension? We have to start by completely changing our reference points. We have to stop using the closed system of belief that we've been told to comply with as our only reference for reality. And I mean that on spiritual, religious, scientific, and societal levels. Because guys, we've been lied to in so many ways. So let me tell you what I do. As you may know, if you've watched my videos about my story, I am a walk-in. And I'll put the link to those videos in the description just in case you missed them. What being a walk-in allows me to do is to reference a reality that is above and beyond this planet and this dimension. To put it in simple terms, I never reference what is happening on planet Earth to determine what reality is. And that, my friends, gives me enormous clarity. It gives me a way of seeing that would not be available to me if I had swallowed this purported conveyor belt way of life, hook, line, and sinker. Now, you don't have to be a walk-in to be able to do this. All you have to do is be much more open-minded. In other words, you need to reopen your divine mind that has been completely shut down by what you've been forced to believe on this planet Earth. You can start by listening to your heart and taking it very seriously. Your heart has so many answers, it would shock you if you actually started paying attention and giving yourself credibility. See, part of the conditioning here has been to shut down your heart. Part of the conditioning has been to convince you to regard what your heart tells you as being meaningless, impractical, and unrealistic. I'll give you an example. When somebody dies, your heart immediately knows that this should not have happened. But you don't know how to cope with that truth because it doesn't fit in with anything you've been told about life. So instead, you grasp for excuses. You reach for some kind of spiritual meaning that will make the existence of death okay. But no matter how much you try to convince yourself, it's never really okay, is it? So what level do you have to function at to be able to accept what your heart is telling you? You have to be functioning at a very high level of consciousness. You literally have to go beyond everything you've ever been told on this planet. You have to be functioning at the level of an awakened cosmic being in real time. That's the only way that you will be able to function as a true asset in this ascension process. So I will leave you with this. Start preparing yourself by having some heart-to-heart talks with your actual heart. Stop seeing yourself as a victim of cosmic circumstances. The next level of ascension requires some dramatically accelerated evolution on our parts, because we are likely to see some additional shifting of timelines. We need to up our game of consciousness to a level we never before imagined on this planet. Whatever you may have thought was required for ascension, you can multiply that exponentially. Now, circumstances are going to push us to awaken at these higher levels. And that is quite possibly the invisible blessing that lies behind all that is going on. So continue taking excellent care of yourself. Keep your energy clear and balanced. And please take the time to start listening to your heart. Your heart has a powerful intelligence that is just waiting for you to wake up and listen. And that's where you're going to find your true source of power and higher wisdom. Now, if you found this video interesting or you found benefit in it, please give it a thumbs up. And share it out with anyone else who might be interested in hearing something different. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because I will be here every week, 3 times a week, to support you in this ascension journey. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and positive energy. Have a peaceful day, my friends. Namaste.